Good morning, everyone. What an absolute pleasure to be here. In the middle of a kind of tech revolution in the energy space, this is, I think, the home today of some of the greatest leaders and innovators. So a huge welcome and a huge well done to the Wired and Octopus teams that have pulled this together. It's such a privilege. I, as well, today, if you don't know Octopus EV, we do a number of things, but we lease EVs across the Octopus group. We have public charging apps. We've got charging installs, and we've got cheap energy tariffs designed specifically for EV drivers, helping to balance the grid. And today we have got some of the most inspirational leaders in the EV sector for you on this panel. It's an absolute privilege to be here moderating it. And today I'd like to welcome them up on stage. We've got Fredrika from Polestar, Sundeep from Uber, and Stella. Do come and join us from BYD. I'm here. Yeah. So in a world where we've got a tech revolution that's already hit your laptops, it's already hit your phones, it's now coming to transportation. In fact, it's not coming, it has arrived. I'm going to start with you, Stella. Stella, we here in Europe, we're often talking about Norway. So in Norway, we're up to over 96% of sales, new car sales, are EVs, which is absolutely phenomenal. So put that in context, that's about 10,000 EVs that were bought last month in August. Look to China. In China, there was like 570,000 EVs bought in August. It's absolutely mind-blowing, the kind of proportion. I had the privilege of coming out last year, and EVs are everywhere. Yes. Tell us about the EV revolution in China.
Yeah. So if you see the monthly data, I think EV penetration is more than 50% now. So then if you talk to the people in China, then they always very exciting talking about the technology for electric car, for the PHEV. If you are not driving EV, you're still in the ICE cars, they say, you're a boring person. You're a very boring guy to drive ICE car. And then you are not fashion. But then another trend you see is like in China, every city, every place, you have charging place. If you go to the shopping mall, you go to the office building, 20% of the parking lot is installed charger. And then this is making people now, we see two trends change. One is they will go to the PHEV for the longer distance. But then if they like a walking range is within in the city, then they prefer the smaller range car now. And then so this kind of trend is very different. And now China is moved to the next stage for intelligence driving, like auto driving, intelligence of the driving experience. So I had the chance, actually, last week in China to test drive BYD Denza's Z9 GT. It's amazing. Our car is, we drive, you go to parallel parking, just have the head in, then our, the rear can squeeze in. So for the parking is a cool experience. And then you go to the parking lot, you use the car to find the parking space. You just put the valet parking. You bring your purse out, then you just leave the car. The car will do the parking by himself. And then you go to the city, we call the intelligent driving. You can just sit in there, the car in the city condition, in the highway condition, they can guide you to a lot of cool experience. You are in China, a lot of people, you have bag, you have passenger walk on the street in the cross line. So this our car is more like is the experience Chinese driver habit. So all this kind of a cool experience will make the excitement of electric car is more popular.
So Stella, for anyone that doesn't know you or BYD, tell us, you're the executive vice president of BYD, and you lead BYD in North Americas, and you've been we've had the pleasure of seeing you more in Europe as well. Tell us for anyone that doesn't know BYD, tell us about you.
So everybody should understand BYD stands for Build Your Dream. It's a dream about the future. It's a dream about the sustainable futures. And then we are now the world's largest electric car company. And then last month, in September, we just announced September, our sales number by monthly number is already, if you ranking as a brand, the second largest auto brand in the world. But BYD is the company commit 100% for electric car or PHEV. But when we're talking about PHEV, we use DMI. It's a long-range EV technology here. So then myself, I joined BYD 29 years. This year's anniversary of BYD 30 years anniversary. So a lot of things are happening, but then every day I join BYD is more like adventure, new stuff, and the new new development, new technology here.
I think we heard that on the last fireside chat earlier around the kind of adventure of the 21st century. Yeah. And I feel like you guys are absolutely living that with, if you didn't catch that, so number one EV brand overtook Tesla Q4 last year, and number two in the auto space, but growing hugely. You're scaling massively. So I think at one point you went from 1.5 million vehicles to 3 million almost in a year. It's such impressive scaling. How are you able to achieve such growth?
Oh, that's a very good question. I'll take maybe 1 day to answer. But the one thing is maybe a lot of people did not know BYD. BYD actually is an engineer company. We, by maybe November, our employee will reach 1 million. But 10% of the employee is R&D engineer. We have now 180,000 R&D engineer. We produce 32 patents. So this is one hand, the BYD blood is innovation, technology.
180,000?
Yeah, R&D engineers.
R&D engineers.
And we produce 32 patents per day.
32 patents a day?
A day, yes. So that's what we are engineer company. So for innovation, for the technology, it's like our blood, our DNA. But then another side, BYD is manufacturing. We manufacture, if a lot of people using the pad, using a lot of a smartphone. If you use an Apple Pad 2 years from latest, 80% were produced by BYD. That's need a lot of CNC machine, need a lot of processing, tooling capability. So BYD, if you go to BYD tooling facility, it's huge. It's 10 times size of here. It's very clean, a lot of very high technology here. So that we call the molding capability is the key for manufacturing. BYD is super strong on the tooling, on the molding. So then BYD manufacturing capability is very strong. And then the third secret culture, why BYD can grow so fast, even we're publicly traded, private owned company, even the market cap sometimes achieve 1 trillion RMB. But still, the company is operated as a startup, maybe private owned. Then if Mr. One decide to do some direction, the whole BYD staff will move immediately. It's a very strong execution. That's amazing. The reason BYD can grow so fast.
With 180,000 R&D engineers and many, many other hundreds of thousands of employees still operating like a startup. Love that. I'm going to bring in Sundeep at this point. So Sundeep, you at Uber have, Chief Product Officer of Uber, you have huge commitments to EVs, and we're seeing a lot of investment from Uber. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, we are, as Uber, we are racing to electrify the world. We've made ambitious commitments that by 2030, we will be an all-EV platform in the United States, Europe, and Canada. That's a big, big commitment. And the reason we're committed to that is it's just good business for Uber. And so if we look at our constituents, we take drivers, riders, cities, drivers love EVs, right? At Uber, Uber drivers are 5 times faster adopting EVs than the average motorist. And they're doing it because there's no gasoline costs and maintenance costs are lower, so we have very high driver adoption. Then we look at riders. Riders are shifting their purchasing patterns towards Uber Green. So we see more and more riders choosing Uber Green. In fact, over the last 4 years, Uber Green has grown 10x. And so we're seeing very high rider demand. And they like EVs because they're smoother, they're quieter, they're more technologically advanced vehicles. So riders enjoy EVs. And then when we look at cities, we've rolled out Uber Green to about 200 cities, and we have more cities asking us to bring Uber Green to those cities. We produce cleaner air in cities, who doesn't like cleaner air? And so you kind of put all those pieces together, all of our constituents want Uber to go electric, and we're racing towards this electric future. Today, we're the largest electric platform in the world, and we're aspirationally racing towards our 2030 ambitions, and we're very excited about that.
It's huge. It's absolute huge commitment. I really want to come back to the consumer piece in a minute, actually, because let's just explore it. I mean, we see in our stats, our consumer research, that one of the top 5 drivers for not getting an EV is the range of the cars. Now, Uber drivers obviously drive a lot longer than the average driver. How are they able to cope with these small battery sizes, Sundeep? Tell us.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. You're hitting on the top barrier for EV adoption on the Uber platform. Drivers, they have anxiety about 2 things. They have anxiety about the upfront price, and they have anxiety about the range capabilities, right? Because they do drive a lot of miles. And so we're doing a number of things to overcome those barriers to adoption. And maybe I'll enumerate a few of them. Number 1, we are investing $800 million, which is a large sum of money, to help drivers overcome those barriers. We're doing that by having partnerships with OEMs that bring subsidized vehicles to drivers. One of those partners is BYD, and obviously we need a few of those 180,000 BYD engineers on our side as well. We're also partnering with energy companies. One example of that is Octopus Energy. And we're investing an incredible amount in product innovations that make it easier for drivers to adopt EVs. Some examples of that are, we've got a charging map, so drivers know exactly where they can go to charge their vehicles in those particular areas. We've done battery-aware matching. And what battery-aware matching is that if you only have 35-mile range remaining, we will only dispatch you trips that are much less than 35 miles. If it's a 40-mile trip, we won't dispatch that to you. So they know they can accept trips without worrying about their battery life.
I love it.
We've launched an AI assistant that helps them procure EV cars. Like when you're buying an EV, it can be an overwhelming experience. What EV do I buy? What are the prices? How do I get all the discounts? So we have an AI assistant that helps them do those types of things. We've also had electric vehicle mentors. So drivers that have procured electric vehicles become mentors for those that haven't. So we have kind of an incredible amount of product innovations that help that. And you kind of put all those pieces together, we're confident that we're gradually chipping away at those barriers.
Yeah, I mean, we see there's big perception challenges around actually how far the cars do go and how possible it is to charge and book, plan your charging. Go on, Stella.
Exactly. So actually, I think 1.5 months ago, your CEO, Greg, with BYD, we have a very exciting topic talking about the partnership here. Because like one scenario, a lot of Uber driver, I think 60%, 70% Uber driver, they don't have their parking lot. They live in the apartment building, but they don't have access for the parking lot for their private charger. But then with your company, commit saying if it's Uber driver, he will invest the charger to install in the apartment building, which is not their own house, they rent. Then, by this way, they found out. So this is a very important trigger to trigger out the Uber driver to switch to the like an electric car. Then the second topic is talking about the cost of electricity. So if you charge your car in the maybe peak hour, the cost is more expensive than gasoline car. But if you charge in the evening, it's much cheaper. It's like you save 80%. So with Octopus, your technology actually can manage the smart charging. So then we will always choose the lowest electricity and to charge. And then with your AI, with BYD technology together, we give the user a lot of choice. Always have access to the cheap electricity, but they don't need to worry because your technology, our technology, your technology together, we're going to manage for them. They just go there or go to charge, and then what's the cost? And then another offer we are trying to do together is offer flat fee for you. Doesn't matter, we will manage that. Then, but the third innovation technology we're talking now is V2 Home, V2G, V2L. So with our current like a car, and then connect with your like a system with the charger. So then the driver maybe they don't want to work, they can make money. they can sell the electricity to the grid, and then they can start to maybe sell to others. So this is kind of a new business model. In the future, our dreams, if like Uber drive the electric car, then they can make some small money to sell energy. They always pay maybe flat fee, guaranteed flat fee, low cost electricity. And then they always have the free cost of access for the charger. Because like for example, in London, together with the Octopus, BYD and Uber, we just launched the first trial project. It's a 1,000 charger. If an Uber driver sign up, then it's the cost between BYD and the Octopus to apply to the Uber driver, offer to them. So the more partnership like this summit work together, then the fast changing adoption will happen.
That's exactly right. Tackling some of these key challenges by working together.
Yeah.
Fredrika, some of the things that we're hearing here is a lot around tech. So what we just heard from Stella was like, technology this, we're innovating here, we're bringing out this. I mean, a lot of people are seeing this kind of sustainability thing as like, oh, EVs, they're like, they're not cool. But actually, that's not the case. I know Polestar have been leading that vision here in Europe and globally for a long time too. Can you tell us about Polestar?
Well, Polestar's vision is to accelerate the transition into sustainable mobility. And to do so, we really need to engage the consumers. And we have the ability, which I'm very proud of at Polestar, through our designers and engineers, to present something that is truly exciting. A performance car that is well designed. It doesn't mean that you have to compromise, but really is a better option for so many reasons for you as a consumer. And our why behind our vision is very clear for us at Polestar. We are in a rampant climate crisis. Climate emissions are still increasing. We are on a clock as an industry. We have an impactful climate solution. I would argue one of the most impactful climate solutions in the automotive industry, but we are failing to deliver it on time. It is not the climate solution if it doesn't mitigate the effects that the climate crisis will mean for us. So we also really want to talk about, not only rephrasing the narrative towards the consumers, but really also rephrasing the narrative within the industry. That it is really up to us to do this now together in a new way and kind of redefine how we produce and use cars. And there's so much that we can tap into. We published the Pathway Report last year together with Klarén and Rivian, showing that we have a carbon budget remaining in the automotive industry that we need to stay within to really, really show up in the time of the climate crisis. But that there are, and we are on track to overshoot it, not surprisingly, but there are so many solutions that we can use that are scalable and feasible to secure that we stay within our climate budget. So, for example, scaling renewable electricity in charging grids around the world. We need to secure 100% renewable electricity in the charging grids within the coming decade to really support the climate crisis. We also have to decarbonize our supply chains, bring in green steel, green aluminium, really work with the battery production in an impactful way, and also secure that we increase the sales. So we only have a couple of years to really transition. We don't have decades.
I think, I got into EVs again in 2017, and at the time there was like 5 cars that could go over 100 miles on a single charge. There's now like 100 of them on sale in the UK at the minute, right? From over 30 different brands. So I've never seen a kind of industry so ready for transformation. I think Bloomberg New Energy Finance suggested there was about 1 million EVs sold in 2017, and there's going to be 30 million in 2027. It's just a huge landslide towards EVs. So there's this combination of getting more cars out there and then decarbonizing even more through the supply chain as we go, I think.
And I mean, we can do that. We have shown with the Polestar 2, for example, we launched that car in 2020. Then it had a 26.2-ton carbon footprint. We also delivered a full lifecycle assessment to really be honest about the fact towards our consumers that it comes with a a climate debt. But in 3 years, we've been able to shave off 3 tons off of that carbon footprint through very doable solutions, bringing in aluminium that is smelted with renewable energy from a province in China that uses a lot of water power, really switching to renewable energy in the anode and cathode production. These are not rocket science solutions. They are so feasible. We have them all. They will get us very far. After 2030, though, on Polestar's climate roadmap, it gets trickier. So we have set the target for ourselves as a company to become net zero in 2040. And when we build that roadmap, we see that after 2030, we need the engineers to step in. We need the force of the BYD engineers and the Polestar engineers to really figure out, okay, how do we truly decarbonize the production of batteries, the steel, the aluminium in a way that it emits no emissions? And so we have created a moonshot goal for ourselves to create a climate neutral car by 2030. It's truly a moonshot goal. We don't know if we will be able to deliver this, but the intent is really to tap into the business value that we see that these solutions will provide, and also to secure that we start collaborating around this in the industry. We wanted the shock effect of this commitment, so that we would really attract those who wanted to join us. And we have 30+ companies who have joined us in this project. Swedish steelmaker SSAB. We have Chinese plastic producer Yanfeng. We have smaller exciting companies providing bio-based materials, all working together to research the solutions that so many industries will need after 2030 to truly achieve net zero.
Fantastic. I mean, that's hugely inspirational. As we look to some of the consumer gaps, perception gaps that we were seeing earlier, so some of the people don't even think that EVs are that sustainable. And there are lots of myths and legends that are kind of going around the sector at the minute. And particularly, although our panel here is very pro-EV, there are others that are kind of holding on to ICE cars. And we're seeing kind of mismatch in terms of perception. How do you think we overcome that with consumers?
I think like Uber lead for electrification is very good education. A lot of always I receive the TikTok or maybe Facebook video from the Uber driver. Then my salespeople say, hey, this is my best salespeople. Because the passenger get in the car is an electric car, then the driver will show him how great this car. So I think the first step, more taxi, and also like Uber, like a ride-sharing car, is really lead the industry to change electrification. And then this will build up confidence. Also, when you do this one, you automatically need like a charging infrastructure at home, and also fast charging like a station at the public charging location. And then now between the OEM, we compete with whose car can charge faster. Like we have competition. For BYD next year, all the new car will come out will be 25 minutes, like a charging from 30 to 80%.
30 to 80%, 25 minutes.
Yeah, it's just 20 minutes. So that's the competition, the race manufacturer going to do. And then the same time, like a company like you, and then will build a fast charging station. But then how you manage energy storage? Then you will put a battery storage, you put a solar. So we see the auto industry with all the partners together, it's become a cross-industry innovation. It's really the center of the whole revolution here. Yeah. So this actually is, if you have a fast charging location, you have technology here, then the people have the experience. If they don't trust, test drive the Uber, take someone like a ride with Uber, then they got the experience. Then with now a lot of financing company offer, like your company, you offer like a financing lease. If you buy the electric car, you don't need to pay the whole money, you pay monthly fee. So then if you don't like it, you can finish your contract, switch to any car. But this is like everybody all in to make this transaction happen.
We absolutely see that. Oh, go for it.
One of the things that we're finding is that Uber is an excellent place for riders to try electric vehicles, it turns out that 1 in 4 consumers, the first place they've tried an EV has been on Uber. And once they try an EV and they like the ride, it's technologically advanced, it's smoother, it's quieter, they want to come back and keep using Uber Green. And so we're actually finding that our platform's a great way to introduce consumers to EVs.
Actually, it's how I experience a lot of my EVs. Although we run test drive events, it's so convenient when I'm in an Uber, and I always see all these different types, and I always like to ask the Uber driver what he likes, what he doesn't, or she. And it's fantastic. It's such a great way to get people into the cars and to see them out on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the one thing I would add is that while the folks here are doing a lot of incredible product innovation to introduce consumers to electric vehicles, to accelerate the adoption of charging structures and speed of charging, we do need help from policymakers and governments to incentivize and educate consumers to adopt electric vehicles, right? So we just, technology companies can't do it alone. We need partnership with the public sector. And we've seen that work effectively, where when they have incentivized consumers to adopt EVs, things have changed. You brought up Norway as an example. We're seeing that with congestion pricing. There's a lot of adoption in China, which is certainly government supported. So we need that piece as well. So we would call upon the industry to double down, not slow down on EV adoption.
Fantastic.
I fully support. You see why China is successful? Because Chinese government is not mean they give money. In reality, we did not receive some money now. And they give the sustainable target. Then everybody trusts, as an OEM, they want visibility. Then they invest. They invest for future. Everybody all in invest because they know direction is very clear, only electric car. And then, but in Europe, there's some trouble. Sometimes they lobby by the auto manufacturer, back and forth, cause a lot of confusion here. That's the trouble.
The ZEV mandate, the zero emission vehicle mandate in the UK has seen a huge shift actually in terms of commitment by the car manufacturers to get out there, be educating their dealers, because a lot of people are still going into dealers to ask about cars. And if they don't have good information, it's sharing a lot of misconceptions.
We are sending very mixed messages right now. We have to really get consumers on board with this. We have to get them into the cars. Once you test drive an EV, you're kind of blown away. So, but also to really secure that policymakers and the industry together sends a clear signal that we have decided to switch technology. Get along with us in this ride. I had this great moment at COP26 when there was a stage of automotive leaders. One among the current then CEO of Volvo Cars, saying clearly that I will take responsibility as a leader in this automotive industry to send a clear signal that we are transitioning to EVs. I want to be very intentional in that. And what we're seeing now is that, a lot of companies and policymakers have made commitments that all of a sudden they realize they don't have plans for how to reach those commitments, or they thought that they would, solve it somehow by not fundamentally changing. And that is the problem we're seeing in Europe now. And I really encourage everyone to make their voice heard in this context, to support the 2035 target that the EU has set for transitioning, and really try to be a positive change in this terrible narrative that we're having right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's also some green shoots as well. So I think in the audience today, we have people that have been on an EV convoy, driving longer distances all the way through here from the UK, and really posting on that. And I think getting the driver stories out there, so getting the Uber drivers to take people out on rides, really promoting that. There's more we can do there in terms of sharing these stories, because I think when people discover them, getting them into the cars, they don't go back.
Absolutely. That was my personal journey. I've worked in fashion before. I'm not an automotive person. But it was a personal choice for me, for my family's climate action plan, to transition. And that was just, that was such a fulfilling thing for me, both on, a practical, functional level, but also on a personal, value-based level. And I do see that is the case for consumers who are making the switch. And it's the case for everyone working within our companies as well.
Yeah.
I mean, this is about growing as a professional into, sustainability. It's only wins for everyone.
We
And
have seen this at Uber, which is over the last 4 years, trips on electric vehicles have grown by 10 times. That's a large number. I think collectively we've done 500 million trips on EVs. And so we are seeing increasing and accelerating adoption by consumers and drivers, but we still need more help from the public sector.
And you're making it easy. You're making it easy. You're making great cars. What's not to like? I think we just need to get more people in them and enjoying them. Please join me in thanking this fantastic panel on EVs.